Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuhu. All praise is to that one God. You know, we all come with needs. Everyone comes to ask questions, to answer what they think they need. But what is it that man really needs? What is that reality? You see, man needs to know reality, but his questions are often about illusion, so that he stays in illusion. And when you answer questions about illusion, you don't answer questions. So you need to know, what is it that's complete and what is it that is incomplete? What is it that brings a profit for man? What is it that brings a loss for man? One has to also begin to have an inkling about his creator, about God. Does God have a race? Does God have a religion? Does God have a color? Does God have a caste? Who begot him? And how was he begotten? Who brought him into being? We ask these questions, and we know that Allah created everything. He created all of mankind. And in this world now, we have so many religions. We have Islam, we have Hinduism, we have Christianity, we have Zoroastrianism, we have Judaism, and we have within each of those so many different sects. Does God belong to any of these religions in particular? Does he belong to any of these sects in particular? Does he belong to any race? Does he belong to any color? If you have certitude and wisdom, you can come to know yourself and come to know your Lord. But you must accumulate wisdom. God created man as the loftiest of his creations. And God is constantly giving to man. And no matter how much God gives, he is in no way diminished, because that is the nature of God. So we must begin to understand the nature of God. We must begin to understand his 99 names and his 3,000 gracious qualities. We have to come to understand those in order to come to understand reality. Because if we don't know those, if we don't understand them, we don't know reality. Because in fact, his names and his qualities are what reality is. And it all begins with love. If you have love, you can enter this path and you can begin to know these things. But if you don't know love, you cannot enter this path. You cannot move forward. When God created man, he placed the Nur inside man. And Nur is the one who tells the truth and explains reality. So we have within us that which explains reality to us, but it's up to us to open it up. When we go looking for God, we should understand that God is without form, he is without color, he is without race, he is without any of the qualities that are inappropriate. He is purity. And what we need to do in order to find him is develop wisdom. So instead of looking for God, we should be looking for wisdom and how to accumulate wisdom. We have to open up a place in our heart for him to reside. We have to be consistent with the qualities of tolerance and peacefulness and mercy and compassion. And we have to build these qualities within our heart so that Allah can reside there and rule from there. It is within the context of understanding that we will come to know truth. And without truth, all we know is differences. Truth understands reality. Truth understands the unique oneness that exists in all of creation. Everything else is other than that. Satan's way is the way of pride and the way of arrogance and the way of jealousy and the way of separations. God's way is the way of unity, the way of inclusiveness, the way of love, the way of kindness, the way of justice, the way of mercy, and the way of compassion. And to understand that, we must accumulate wisdom. Allah acts in this world through his qualities and through his names. That is his power. That is what he acts through. That's how he accomplishes what he accomplishes. We, on the other hand, believe if we are mired in illusion, that arrogance and the strength of arrogance can manipulate form so that we can get what we want. And over time, man learns that he cannot manipulate form to get what he wants, that he has to understand the truth, and in knowing the truth, he obtains what he needs. People would ask Bawa questions, and he would answer them. And he wouldn't necessarily answer the question they asked because they didn't know what they were asking and they didn't know what they needed. So he answered the question that they needed to ask. And this made lots of people angry because they didn't want an answer to truth. They wanted an answer to their illusion. And we are constantly walking through existence in illusion, looking for answers to illusion where there are no answers. The answers are only in truth, and truth can only be found through finding and understanding the qualities of Allah. Let's talk about wisdom and finding wisdom and bringing wisdom into being. How's it done? What is it? What is this ephemeral wisdom that everyone's looking to find? Wisdom means a certain point of view with a certain attitude. It's a point of view of truth, and it's an attitude that's godly. So in order to acquire wisdom, it is necessary for us to acquire God's qualities. Allah is wisdom within wisdom. So if we are ever to begin to understand the nature of wisdom and to acquire wisdom, we have to understand the nature of the qualities of God and the nature of the qualities of his names and the nature of his 3,000 gracious attributes. As we begin to understand those, then we can begin to understand truth and wisdom. Mercy is truth. Compassion is truth. Justice is truth. God's peace is truth. Arrogance is a lie. Ego is a lie. Jealousy is a lie. Satan's qualities are lies. Satan's qualities all spread differences. Wisdom spreads unity. If we understand wisdom, we understand unity. We understand that only one exists, and that one is Allah. So we have to incorporate the qualities and the names within our being, but incorporating them within our being isn't sufficient. We need to act with those qualities. So we have to become those who act with mercy, those who act with compassion, those who act with justice, those who act without selfishness, without self-motive, without the need for self-gratification. We need to be removed from the equation when we act with God's qualities, or we are not acting with God's qualities. To be able to act with God's qualities, there has to be a unity. There has to be but one. And as long as there are two, it is not acting with God's qualities. It's acting with God's qualities in the guise of our own needs, in the guise of our own selfishness, in the guise of what it is that we individually want to accomplish. Somehow, we need to rid ourselves of this self-interest. The mind and desire hold you out to ourselves as an individual of great importance who's different and separate from everyone else. This is the lie of the mind. The mind is elemental, and it sees things as elemental in nature. Well, within the elemental nature of things, there are differences. So the mind is constantly trying to make you more important, to make you better, to make us feel that we are somehow superior. But the mind and the body and the elements are all we have to work with in the beginning. So as you plant a tree, a lot of work goes into planting a tree. You have to find an appropriate tree. You have to find an appropriate place to plant it. You have to dig a hole. You have to bring manure. You have to water it. And then you have to watch it. And you watch it as it grows. And then over time, it begins to blossom. And if it's a fruit tree, these blossoms turn into fruits that can be eaten. Now, the fruit is of no value to you as long as it's on the tree. The fruit has to be taken from the tree, and let's say it's a banana, it has to be peeled and then eaten. And that's how you get the nourishment. You get what it has to offer. In the same way, when faith and certitude are developed within us, they come originally from the body. Faith and certitude start from what we have right now, because that's all we have. But as this faith and certitude grows in God within us, as this faith and certitude matures, as this faith and certitude clings to the various qualities of Allah, to the various names of Allah, to the various gracious natures of Allah, as this happens within us, we also begin to blossom. And we also give forth a flower. And it's the flower of wisdom and the flower of truth. And in order to use that, this has to be separated from mind and desire. In the same way that the lotus blossom grows on the pond, or and gets its nourishment from deep within the pond where the slime is, this wisdom grew within our body, grew within our mind and desire. So in the same way that we remove the fruit from the parent, we remove the fruit from the tree in order for it to be useful, we have to remove the wisdom from mind and desire. So there comes a point where we have to understand the difference between mind and desire and this blossom that came from mind and desire after faith and certitude was developed, which is wisdom. And we have to pull that out, and we have to deal with that separately and enjoy the taste and the fragrance of that wisdom, because within wisdom is the taste and the fragrance of Allah. And if we can understand how to do that, if we can understand the nature of doing that, then we will begin to understand the questions and the answers that we need to ask. Like, what is it that we really need? What is the reality that we really need to step into? We need to know truth. Yet Satan is constantly telling us things that have no truth within them. And this truth that we need to know is difficult to find. So Satan will also tell us this truth cannot be found. This truth is an illusion. You are being told everything else is an illusion. But Satan says, in fact, this truth is an illusion. And why does Satan do that? To create doubt within your being. Doubt is the opposite of certitude. We have to have certitude in order to be able to move forward on this path. If we are not certain, it is going to be very easy for Satan to steer us away from this path. In the Tamil language, sex, the literal translation, is the small pleasure, as opposed to the larger pleasure, which is coming to know God. Now, this small pleasure also defines all of the various joys that we get from this illusory world. They are small pleasures of the world. In the truth of things, there is a great ecstasy that is available to you, a great pleasure that is available to you. but it is outside of the realm of illusion. So as long as we stay within illusion and ask questions about illusion and want to resolve illusion and focus on illusion, we are going to be caught within the small pleasures. For instance, how can I make more money? How do I get a bigger house? How do I get a better car? How do I become more famous? How do I find better furniture for my house? How do I? So many different things. But all of these things are within the realm of the illusory world. And they're within the realm of the pleasures that satisfy us temporarily. You'll note that whatever you have in this world is a temporary pleasure. It lasts for a very short period of time. However, there is an ongoing treasure that is beyond comprehension and beyond limits. It doesn't stop. It is there with you always, and it is constantly bringing you to a state of ecstatic joy and effulgence. And this treasure is with Allah and understanding the nature of the names of Allah and their qualities that work on you. Now, think about it. Allah is known as Rahman and Rahim, mercy and compassion. Those are two of his names. However, he has, in his mercy, made it available to man to also understand, enjoy, and incorporate within him mercy and compassion. When we were with the Sheikh, there was a great joy in being in his presence. And what was the great joy of being in his presence? And how come we would come back again and again and again? It's because that great joy never ended and didn't cease. And when we were within his presence and he was in the state of mercy and compassion, it was so powerful within him that the resonance of it went out, and we were all capable of partaking in that. And no matter how much of that is given, no matter how much Allah gives to his creation, Allah is not diminished. So Allah can continue to give mercy and compassion to all of his creation. His creation can give mercy and compassion to the rest of his creation, and it's never diminished. It never runs out. There is no end to it. It's not like you finish a meal. There is no finishing mercy and compassion. It is eternal and ongoing. It doesn't stop. And imagine yourself being within that reality, as opposed to the illusory reality where things come, go, and disappear. And this is the difference between the qualities of Allah and the illusory world. There is no end to the qualities of Allah. There is no diminishing the qualities of Allah. There is no running out of the qualities of Allah. And once you are within the framework of the qualities of Allah, all doubt disappears because they are so overwhelming and so all-encompassing and so complete that there is no space for doubt. So we need to know what is complete and what is incomplete. That which is incomplete is what causes doubt in our being. So if we have faith that's incomplete, we will have doubt. If we have mercy that is self-centered, we will develop doubt. If we have compassion that has to do with making us famous, we will develop doubt because we will see that they aren't real. They aren't the truth. Only when the truth is entered in those qualities will we find the truth within ourselves and find completeness. And Allah is complete within himself. He doesn't need any assistance. He doesn't need any partners. He doesn't need anything beyond himself. He doesn't need anything else. And in his mercy and in his compassion, he has deemed to give and make available this completeness to his creation. And he's done it by sending prophets into the world and ketubs to teach the completeness of Allah, to show the completeness of Allah, so that we can deal with things that are whole as opposed to things that are illusory, unstable, and fade away. So in our life, we have to begin to understand what it is that we have to give our time to, what it is that we have to give our attention to. And those things are the things that are truthful. Those things are the things that are real. Those things are the things that don't disappear. Form disappears. All that is real doesn't disappear. All that is real is without form. Mercy has no form. Compassion has no form. Love is not elemental. It has no form. But all of us who've touched love, what has been more invigorating in our lives? What has been more important in our lives? What has been more uplifting in our lives than this love that we've touched? What has taken us to the heights of understanding more than this love we have touched? What has erased from us doubt more than this love we have touched? So if we find ourselves in doubt, if we find ourselves confused as to the world, what is the solution? We need to learn to love more. And love what? Love God's creation and love God. Love what it is that he put in front of us. Love what it is that he made us interact with. Love what it is that we spend our time with in this world. Love things to the point where we elevate them and make them higher. So if we are with friends and if we love, they will become lovelier. If we love, everything will become lovelier. And all that bothers us will disappear because love now becomes the overriding truth in our life. And love has friends. The friends of love are compassion and mercy. The friends of love are peace and justice. The friends of love are Allah's 99 names. And as you love, those friends come and join. They come to join the party of love. They come to join the experience of love. They come to add to the experience of love. They come to add to the ecstasy of love and the effulgent nature of the completeness that brings about within our being. So when we accomplish things in the world, we accomplish things in illusion, the feeling often comes, is that all there is? Well, it comes because in illusion, there is no completeness. There is only completeness within Allah. So we need to turn to that which is complete in order to be able to find completeness. We have to turn to that which is whole, to that which is without need, to that which is without partner, to that which is without the need for anything else to find completeness. But as we turn to the world and we look to these small pleasures given to us in the world, as we turn to the world and we turn to these temporary pleasures, we will not find completeness, and we will constantly be looking and looking and looking, turning stones, trying to find an answer to all of our questions. And our questions won't stop coming because we haven't touched completeness, because we haven't fulfilled that which we were sent here to fulfill. God gave us a duty in this life, and that duty was to find wisdom. And that wisdom is given to us as a trust to be held to return to Allah. So if we want to be able to find completeness in our life, if we want to become whole, if we want to become truly satisfied, we have to partake in that which has satisfaction within it. Illusion does not have satisfaction within it. Illusion, it's like the story about Chinese food. After you eat Chinese food, you're still hungry. Well, the point is, after you partake in the world, you're still in need. You haven't fulfilled your needs because the illusion in this world is incapable of fulfilling your needs. You can't look for love in the wrong places. You have to look for it in your heart, and you have to establish a place of residency for God within you. So you have to bring tolerance and mercy and compassion and peace and justice within you so that Allah has a place to reside within you so that he can rule from within you. And when he rules from within you, then you are in touch with truth. And then you can begin to find these various qualities that are formless and make them part of your being. We already have formlessness within us. Allah put a ray of truth within us, put a bit of himself within us. He gave us, when he created us, the Nur, the great explainer. It's within us. All of these things need to be opened up within us with the understanding of where our focus has to go. And our focus has to constantly be planted on truth, on God's qualities, and on God's gracious attributes. If we can do this and make that the focus of our existence, if we can do this and make that the focal point of what is important in our lives, then we will find completion. Then we will be filled. We will become satisfied. in the way that we were satisfied when we sat in front of the Sheikh and we gave up ourselves to be surrounded by his mercy and his compassion. He said to us, become like me. So we need to understand how to become the mercy that he was unto us, how to become the compassion that he was unto us, how to become the truth that he was for us. We need to become that for ourselves and for everyone else. God, in his mercy, sent the sheikhs and the prophets and the ketubs to train us how to become fulfilled, how to become full, how to become complete. So we have to ask Allah to open up that path of completeness for us, open up that way that brings us into truth so that we can come to know reality and leave this life of illusion, leave this life of temporary small pleasures, and take us to the ecstasy that belongs to eternal reality. May that be the path for each and every one of us. May that be the way for each and every one of us. May that be the culmination for each and every one of us. May we all be taken to that place of fulfillment and completeness with our Lord. Ameen, ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.